Are you sabotaging your win rate at 1-2 and 1-3 without even realizing it? Chances are you are, because I've worked with 200 live poker players and I keep seeing the same expensive mistake over and over again. The scary part is that most players don't even notice they're making it, but it costs them money every single session. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what this mistake is, and I'm also going to teach you a simple framework called the two-pot rule that will help you avoid this mistake in your own game. By the end, you'll know how to spot it in your own game before it costs you another stack. So let's start with a hand that one of my students sent in for review. In this hand from a 1-2 game, he raised to 10 with pocket queens in the cutoff. Big blind called. The flop came king 10-4 rainbow. Hero c-bet, half pot, villain called. So far, so standard. The turn paired the 10 and hero now bets 2/3 and gets called again. This is not terrible either, even though it's not what I would have done. But now we're getting to the interesting part. The river was a brick and hero went for a third barrel. Villain finally folded and hero took down the pot. When I asked hero why he triple barreled in this spot, he said he wanted to represent a 10. I hear this type of logic all the time from students and viewers, but can you see how flawed this thinking is? First of all, hero won the hand, so he would never have realized what a mistake he made in this hand. And that's what makes this mistake so dangerous. Hero won the hand, he dragged in the pot, probably felt pretty good about the triple barrel, and would have made the exact same play again. But to show you where exactly he went wrong, let's go back to the flop. When hero bets there, he can definitely get called by a lot of weaker hands, like a 10, a 4, maybe some pocket pairs that didn't connect with the board, some ace-high hands, and even some draws like queen 9, queen jack, and so on. When hero bets the turn, though, this is a bit different now. If villain has a 10, he would now be ahead because he would have trips. If he has a 4 or a pocket pair, he might now fold, and he might even fold out a draw at this point. But overall, as I said, I don't think this is a terrible bet. The issue is the river bet though. Let's look at villain's range arriving on this river. He could have a king, he could have a 10, he can have misdraws, and maybe he didn't fold a 4 or some pocket pair. When we bet big on this river, what does he do with all these hands? Well, he will fold his misdraws, he will probably even fold a 4 or something like pocket 5s to a triple barrel. So what hands that we beat call us when we bet big? I can't think of a single one. But okay, hero said that he wanted to represent a 10, so this suggests that he intended to bluff this river. Right, so do we think a king will fold? I mean, it's not impossible, but even though our bet is fairly big, it's not like it's rent or mortgage money. And I don't see many players at 1-2 folding top pair in this spot. And what about a 10? Well, I can absolutely never ever see a 10 fold, so if villain has a king or a 10, he will call and we will lose. So to recap, if he has a better hand than ours, he will call, and if he has anything that we beat, he'll probably fold. And this was what happened. This means that we only get called by better hands and we fold out every hand that we beat, which is the exact opposite of what we want to achieve. We normally want to get called by weaker hands or get better hands to fold, and that's totally not what we do when we bet big on this river with a hand like pocket queens. And also, when you have queens, you don't need to bluff. You already have a decent hand that can win at showdown. This is what we call showdown value. Sometimes ace high has showdown value, sometimes even top pair doesn't. It all depends on the situation. But here is the important part. Hands with showdown value often become less likely to win the more money that goes into the pot. And this leads us to the simple framework I call the two-pot rule. Ultimately, every hand class wants to play either a big pot strategy or a small pot strategy. For example, if you have a big hand, you want to play a big pot strategy because obviously you want to put as much money into the middle as possible. But if you have a hand with showdown value, like for example a pair, then you don't want to put loads of money into the middle. And that's why I call this the two-pot rule. This rule is incredibly simple. Just ask yourself two questions. If a lot of money goes into this pot, how likely am I to win with my hand? And if only a little money goes into the pot, how likely am I to win then? Take pocket queens in our example. If we check the river and no more money goes into the pot, queens will win a decent amount of the time. Villain can have missed draws, pocket pairs, and maybe even a 4. But what happens if another 100 or 150 big blinds suddenly go into the pot? Do you expect pocket queens to still win? Of course not. The more money that goes into this pot, the worse queens become. And that's a huge sign that this hand wants to play a small pot strategy. Whenever you're involved in a hand, think of which of these two pots is the one you need to aim to get to. Now, you might be thinking,
but Andreas, what about bluffs?
Because obviously, when we bluff, we sometimes want to put a lot of money into the pot even though we don't have a strong hand. And you're absolutely right. But here's the difference. A bluff knows that it probably can't win a small pot at showdown. If I have 10 high on the river, checking doesn't really achieve much because I'm probably going to lose. So putting a lot of money into the pot might actually give me a chance to win by making my opponent fold. Pocket queens are completely different. Queens can already win the pot by checking. So when you turn them into a bluff, you're risking a lot of money to achieve something your hand often doesn't even need. And this is where so many players get themselves into trouble. They take a hand that's perfectly capable of winning a small pot and force it to play a big pot strategy, like my student with pocket queens. His hand wanted to play a small pot, but instead he bet flop, he bet turn, he bet river. He forced queens into the big pot. And yes, he won this time, but if you keep doing this over hundreds of sessions, you're going to keep folding out the hands you beat and getting called by the hands that you beat. That's how a winning hand becomes a losing strategy. Another way to think about this is that every hand has an investment ceiling. Every hand has a maximum amount you would ideally want to invest with that specific hand. If you have the nuts, your investment ceiling is your entire stack because you want to put as much money into the middle as possible. With top pair, your ceiling might be a few bets, but you usually don't want to play for your entire stack. And with a weak pair, that ceiling might be much lower. Of course, it's not always going to work out for you. Sometimes you'll sit there with third pair and your opponent will blast flop, blast turn, blast river. That's definitely not what you would want with that hand. But often you do control this, especially if you were the preflop raiser. The two-pot rule is a massive step toward fixing your win rate, but it's just one part of the puzzle at these stakes. There are actually a handful of other common leagues that 1-2 and 1-3 players fall into every single session without even realizing it. I've put together a full breakdown of the most critical ones you need to fix right now if you want to truly crush these games. You can find that video right here.